Welcome to the Calder Farmstead.
Now the Ice Hawks back out to center in transition. Carlson with Quenneville 2-on-1. Right with Carlson, Quenneville scores!
Here's a chance for Barrett. Fighting scores! Off the face-off! Up in Zeminger. Pulled back to Werenski. Has it. Shoots one. Bounces off a man. 5 seconds left. Werenski. Another jam on the shot. Turning and firing. They go! Scores! They score! Now they catch each other and they both go right over the top. Matching rights to one another. McDermott gets the helmet off of Cassie.
And now with 9 minutes gone in overtime, the Bears breaking out right side with Bear. Looks like cutting to the net. Bear will score!
And here are your hosts, Cece and Sean.
Hello and greetings from the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado.
And Peterborough, Ontario.
Welcome to the Calder Farmstead Podcast, episode number 17 for Friday, March 5th, 2021. If you were hoping for a podcast featuring drip irrigation discussion, we are not going to be much help. This is an American Hockey League podcast, and my name is Cece Hockley.
And I'm Sean O'Brien.
And as always, we thank you for tuning in with us.
If you're new to hearing Cece and I talk about hockey, we're going to preview some of the matchups from this upcoming weekend for you. We both watch a lot of AHL games and are going to talk about what we see when we watch the film, as well as use some advanced stats to help us break it down. If that's new to you, you may want to head over to our podcast feed or YouTube channel, wherever you're listening to us from, and check out episode 0. If you scroll, it's all the way at the beginning. It's a short primer on some of the stats we're going to be talking about, as well as how we view what's important on the ice. So if you're new to some of the more advanced hockey stats terms, like the point shares model, or newer hockey terms like controlled zone entries, go check that out so you better be able to pick up what we're putting down. I promise it's not that nerdy or technical. It's only 20 minutes. And let's be honest, you wasted 20 minutes today watching WandaVision commercials. So why not spend a little more time with us watching, talking hockey?
Again, Sean, you need to get out of my browser history. I'm serious. Like, I know we're logged into the Calder Farmstead YouTube channel, and episode 0 is pinned to the top of that channel, by the way. So go check that out. But anyway, I digress. So let's get started with a guest. This is something that we haven't done, at least in the Calder Farmstead iteration of Sean and I hosting a podcast. And this guest is no stranger to us, definitely no stranger to me. Her and I go back to the Sin Bin when we were both covering ECHL beats, her with the Kansas City Mavericks, me with the Idaho Steelheads. She's been a guest on the In the Corners podcast, which we used to host. And now this is her first time coming on the Calder Farmstead podcast. And she's going to be, well, she is covering the Stockton Heat for Full Press Hockey now, where I currently am. So, well, we are. Sean is too, not just me, but yes. So without further ado, let me introduce Paige Seward. Welcome to the program, Paige.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So the Stockton Heat of Calgary. The Heat, that's how we're dubbing them, Paige, is the Stockton Heat of Calgary. It's a little bit of a lengthy name, but just think like the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim sort of vibe, you know? Like,
I'm with it.
Right on. Cool. Hopefully it'll catch on with, more people in the hockey world, but it started here. Just saying. So anyway, noted. Yes, for posterity's sake, So anyway, we're going to be talking about the upcoming weekend series with Stockton and Toronto. And boy, are they becoming quick enemies, I should say, not even friends, but boy, 4 games, 3 blowouts. Sean, you want to introduce this a little bit, and then we'll get Paige's take a little bit on it too?
Absolutely. So game 1 and 2 clearly didn't go the way the Heat intended, but I think a fair portion of that were not being able to get saves from Sparks and Wolf. That's not to say the defense didn't leave Tyler Gaudette alone on the doorstep, but Wolf has been solid since then, and I believe that Garrett Sparks is certainly a capable goaltender at the AHL level. The thing that I think is interesting is that, you see the next game, the final game of that 4-game stretch, they were the ones that blew out Toronto. And I thought that was kind of unexpected, but I also felt like once Stockton kind of got up to speed, because Toronto had been playing games, Stockton hadn't, that was always probably going to be that was going to be a big factor in the first kind of going for them. But Stockton really seemed to get its feet under him, or their skates under them, pretty quickly, and has looked good in the game since, Toronto tried to deport them.
Yeah, I agree. You watch those first couple games and you're like, oh, geez, here goes the season. But even talking to the guys after their second loss there, like they knew that's not how they wanted to play. They knew that wasn't really the identity of the team that they were working with. Like they knew that they were better than what they showed the first two games. And even kind of what you're saying, like they started the season later than anyone else in the league. So everyone else had games under their belt. Everyone else was, not that they didn't get ice time, but everyone else was getting that game action that Stockton was missing out on. So actually coming back and turning it around so quick after just two games, it probably helps that they're playing the same team, especially not being too familiar with some of these other teams in the Canadian division. But definitely seeing the way they turn it around is very promising for them. And even last night's game too, another big win for them. It's really nice to see. And myself being a Flames fan as well, I look at them and I'm like, dang it, Stockton's so much more fun to watch right now than the Flames are. So really happy with the direction they're taking. And I think this weekend's going to be a good weekend for them.
Yeah, and Stockton had the benefit, well, as much of a benefit as you can for a little bit later of a start, even in the Canadian division. The Canadian division got a late start as it is because of, COVID-19 protocols, especially in the province of Ontario, and just how that affected the other three teams outside of that province in the Canadian division. But yeah, I mean, having that little bit later of a start, obviously they stumbled out of the gate, but to really regroup, and Friday, February 26th to get that 8-1 victory, and Wednesday, March 3rd to get that 4-1 victory over Belleville, kind of sliding that Belleville game in there at the beginning of March is kind of interesting. But, the Marlies goaltending problems. Let's focus on Toronto real quick. Now, what happens when you're starting a middling at best ECHL goalie against NHL prospects? This is what happens. So I know Sean's got opinions about D'Agostini, and so I'm going to yield the floor to him because he's got some things to say. He's going to restrain himself though, which is commendable.
I mean, as much as I can be restrained, which is not all that much. I mean, you're right. He's a middling ECHL goaltender, and he's facing shots from guys who are going to go on to NHL careers. And I respect the work ethic from D'Agostini here. I really do. A lot of guys have quit on their hockey careers, myself included, way before I would have reached the point that he is at. But he's just not good enough to play at this level. I mean, even a year where a lot of AHL talent is on taxi squads, he looks out of place a lot. And I really don't want to elaborate too much on why he's bad if I can avoid it, because he's here trying to do a job that he desperately wants to excel at. I mean, this is definitely a place growing up as a good Ontario boy. Like, this is a team that he wants to play for in a spot that is huge for his career, and he's just not doing well. And it looks very apparent to me on film that he doesn't belong at this level. And I really don't want to kick a dude in that moment if I can avoid it, especially one that overall, reading about some of his stuff in The Athletic and what he's gone through to just get to this point, he seems like a genuinely pretty good guy. So I'm going to try and, duck under the well, technically this thing is wrong and this thing if I can. So.
Well, Sean, to pivot real quick, I did want to get Paige's opinion on D'Agostini and what she's seen in the games that she's covered of the Heat against the Marlies. So kick it over to Paige. What do you think?
I think first two games, the comparison was a little easier to see. So you have Sparks and Wolf coming in. They didn't get off too great of a start. So if you're listening or even watching the broadcast and the broadcaster's like, big save, D'Agostini, and he says it 10 times in a game, you're not really thinking oh, this guy isn't doing too hot. So I think it's a little surprising to hear that, because I don't watch goalies as much. I'm more forward defenseman based when I'm watching games. So sure. I didn't keep a close eye on him. So I didn't really notice him sticking out like a sore thumb. But they'll definitely focus on that a little bit more this weekend, because I just saw the blowout and was like, this is a blowout. I just thought the shots were good. I didn't think necessarily that D'Agostini didn't belong there, or there was so much wrong with his game that he probably shouldn't be playing at this level. So that's actually an interesting point you bring up, Sean. And that's something I'm going to take a look at, because I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've tweeted out or saw stuff on Twitter about, oh, another great save by D'Agostini. D'Agostini does this, XYZ. So it seemed like the feedback that I was seeing from my end of things was pretty positive for the most part. Obviously, when you get blown out by Stockton in the first in the last 2 games there, not too much to say there. So I think it's something that just flew under my radar and probably flew under the radar of some of the people watching that game too.
Yeah, and to be fair, like watching goaltenders on film is something where it's like you can't be watching other people and them. Like it's something where like I'll have to watch. Like I watched I think 4 Marlies games so far this year, and 3 of them I have watched front to back twice to solely focus on both goaltenders in the game. So it's a lot of like you have to focus, and in some cases, you know, it takes a lot of. And I don't have great technical knowledge of goaltending, but I do know what good goaltending looks like and what bad goaltending looks like. And again, trying to duck exactly what he's doing wrong. The one thing I will say about him is there are moments in which he makes a save, and save selection is a big thing in goalies and advancing up the chain. Of it's not that you just stopped the puck, it's how you stopped the puck, collected the rebound, etc. And there are moments, because he's a smaller goalie, he comes out really, really far to challenge because he's not big enough to cover the net with his body. And there are times in which he's like 3-4 feet out of the top of the crease, and he's still getting beat clean. You can't do
Sean,
that.
With that said, I mean, you're not as bullish on D'Agostini as you are on a guy like say Thomas Scholl, who spent a fair amount of time in the ECHL. So with that in mind, is there going to be any help coming from the Leafs in regards to goaltending?
There should be. I mean, Jack Campbell started for the Leafs on Saturday, which means, and Freddie started for them last night, which means one of Wall or Hutch should be on their way back soon. But we've long since established that I don't understand what teams are doing with their players via taxi squads and AHL assignments. I really did but like Toronto's carrying 4, as far as I can tell, healthy goaltenders right now. I don't know why they're holding on to them. I know Ian Scott is apparently nursing a groin injury and is said to be week to week. So whatever that means, because the AHL doesn't really give us any more updates than that, but help should be on the way.
And Paige, have you noticed, or do you subscribe to the fact that you don't try to predict any roster changes between Calgary and the Stockton Heat of Calgary this season?
Honestly, they could swap their rosters tonight and I wouldn't even be surprised. Like I have hope because they're my team, but oh my gosh, every time I watch a game, I'm like, oh no, they're doing it again. So I would if they just took the whole top line or the whole top 2 lines from Stockton and sent down their bottom 2, maybe there'd be some changes. But these guys go up, like Glenn Godden just came back from 5 games up in Calgary, didn't do too much there. But the thing is, these are top line players going up to play the bottom line in the NHL. So they're not getting as much ice time. They're not getting as much opportunities. They don't have that line chemistry with the guys that they're used to playing with. So it's very easy to look at some of these players going up and down and thinking, well, they go up and they don't do anything. But it's like, okay, well, how much ice time did they get though? So yeah, it's a little bit of a headache that way, but honestly, they could call up anybody and I would not be surprised.
Welcome to 2020. I get emails in my inbox for the Colorado Eagles. It's like, oh, hey, like just even 30 minutes before we start recording, Adam Warner, who's been a taxi squad like staple for the Avalanche, he's back down with the Eagles now. So it's like, okay.
Jamie Drysdale got called up for 1 day.
Seriously. Anaheim. Wow. Gosh. Yeah, it's crazy. So, but hey, let's finish out our discussion. We'll talk a couple individual players. We'll start with the Marlies. Sean, Tyler Gaudette.
I mean, yeah, raise your hand if you had Tyler Gaudette leading the Marlies in scoring at this point in the season.
Nope, not going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, when we previewed the Marlies, we thought him as a bottom 6 guy with some offensive upside. And I've liked what I've seen from him. He's been active around the net front. His quick release on his shot has really impressed me so far. But I don't expect this pace to continue for him. And I think he's going to fade into a respectable but closer to middle 6 production. And let's be clear, a couple of his points that he's gotten have been much more good fortune than repeatable skill plays. He got an assist off a goal that bounced off a Heat defender and went in. That's not going to just happen to you every third game. He also got credit for an assist on a turnover that he kind of sort of maybe touched the puck for. He also had one goal where he just turned and fired into a wide open net. Like, yes, he has talent. He's been impressive. His goal last night looked really good, but I don't think he's an over a point a game player. And especially like their schedule wise, has been a lot of Manitoba and no Laval yet. So I think that plays a factor into why Tyler Gaudette has looked, Tyler Gaudette. So.
Yeah. 12 points in 10 games. Definitely kind of an eyebrow raiser for sure. But Paige, I know that we talked about, it's hard to keep your eyes on everybody on the ice, but from what you've seen from Tyler Gaudette so far, what are some things that you've observed?
To be honest, I don't think I've noticed a whole lot of him. Like Sean was saying, there were kind of some fluke goals there. So you're like, okay, what just happened there? So there hasn't been anything where you get these huge scoring chances and you're like, oh, who was that? And you look and you see that it was him. I think he's kind of both teams, like the Heat and the Marlies, have gotten each other figured out a little bit more. So I'm sure he's on their radar. But I just think I personally probably haven't put a lot of attention on him to really have much to say about him. So I think Sean covered it pretty well there.
Yeah, and he's a guy too that like when he touches the puck or he's on the ice, you're not like, oh, he's not someone who jumps out on the page with just crazy slick moves or talent. Like there are some guys this season that have definitely done that for me. Max Willman, Save Wisdom, Jack Sean in Providence, Zegras, obviously, Sam Aneth, anytime he touches the puck, like I don't have to look up and see who it was. I'm like, I know that was him. But like Zary for Stockton, I know when he touches the puck. I don't have to look up a number or anything like that. I know when that's him. And Paige is nodding like she knows too. It's that's him. But he is not that guy. And that's another reason too that I think that he kind of slowly fades into closer to middle six production.
Mm-hmm.
Well, last but not least, Adam Razika. Let's talk about him. Shawnee, you first.
I mean, we had positive things to say about him in the preview. His skating still concerns me, but in more of a make the NHL level and be able to push the pace kind of way than he's not going to be able to keep up in the A kind of way. His edge work is good, but I really think him adding like the ability to turn the corner on a defenseman wide would really add a big dimension to his game, which is already pretty versatile. Defensively, man, has he been great back checking. Like he has pulled pucks off of dudes from behind quite a few times, which, as I said, for a guy who's not, top end flying up and down the ice, the fact that he's just catching guys in traffic is more a testament to his ability to read the play and hustle than it is like his, skating speed. Offensively, I thought he's done a good job finding soft ice in the slot. He's also been ready when the puck comes to him in those spaces too. And he's done a good job of shooting pucks off of weird angles, like when they're in his feet or off, balance for him. He's done a good job pulling up on the rush when he has the puck entering the zone and finding trailers or being that trailer, turning, a 2-on-2 rush into a 3-on-2 because he's late coming in. I don't know that he keeps up this level of production. I think he put up another 1-2-3 line last night, 1 goal, 2 assists or something like that. So yeah, I'm sure that this will end up him hearing this and him being fired up to prove me wrong personally. But I don't think he keeps up this level of production, but I don't think he just fades into the background. I still think he's probably going to be one of the top forwards at the end of the season for Stockton on a per game kind of basis.
Paige, your thoughts?
I definitely agree there. Razika, you also have to look at who he's playing with as well. So for the time being, he's playing with Matthew Phillips and Connor Zary. And there's a lot of speculation. Well, it's not really speculation. It's just facts that Connor Zary isn't here for the season. And he's going to be going back to Kamloops. And I saw something today that apparently after this road trip, he'll be heading back. But whenever you get questions about this with coaching staff, that sort of thing, you kind of get we don't know, we'll see kind of answers because they can't really tell you. So that kind of thing, he's playing with great guys. He's playing with high level guys, and they're setting them up and he's setting them up. So last night, Wednesday, I should say, because it's coming out on Friday. But Connor Zary has 3 points. He gets 2 goals in the first period. He gets 3 points on the night, and then Razika backs it up with 3 points on his own. And he's on a streak right now. So I would say if you're going into this weekend to watch the Marlies Heat, Razika is going to be the one you're looking at because he's a big guy. He's doing all the things right now, and everything's going his way. So when you start hearing stuff like Razika scores, there's another assist by Razika, that's kind of what you can be expecting for this weekend because that's just the way he's playing right now. So in my opinion, if the Flames needed someone today, that would be who they'd be calling up because you have to take a player while they're hot, and he's hot right now. So I've been seeing a lot of really great things out of him. I don't notice the skating too much, but I can see where you're coming from. When I look at the broadcast, I kind of see a little bit of Sean Monahan in him. Sean Monahan's kind of been, there's been some talk about his skating this year too. So he kind of has that large presence, but he's not going to be a Connor Zary, Johnny Gaudreau type that's going to be zipping around the ice there. But he's in the right spots. He knows how to set up his line. He's got great line of chemistry right now. Cale McLean, the head coach for the Heat, talks about how confident he is on and off the ice. This guy's feeling his game right now, and he's feeling how close he is to the Flames. And he's thinking that if this is the time to make the next step, he needs to keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah, especially as the Flames have been kind of up and down and struggling a little bit too. This is a good opportunity for him, especially as he's on a Heat or
finger guns. Yeah. See, I'm usually the one with the dad jokes, but I've been kind of, rubbing off on Sean a little bit in that regard. So I'm a little happy that's happening, but I have a gross mispronunciation of a player's name at least once per episode. So Razika. There we go.
Yes, there's a CH at the end, a CH pronunciation.
Yes, Razika. So, yeah, not Razika, like I said earlier. So forgive me for that.
It was a little closer than that, but that's okay.
Hey, I just read it like it was written on the outline there. But anyway, moving on my terrible pronunciation of player names that occurs frequently. Let's get to some picks. And I think since Paige is our guest, we'll preview. Well, we already previewed the weekend, and let's talk Friday, 7 p.m. at Ontario, and then Saturday, 3 p.m. at Ontario. Paige, who do you got in those two games?
I gotta be biased on this one. I think they're taking both. Stockton. I just think like the way they're playing right now, they're very familiar with this team now. They got the one game to kind of see a little bit of different scenery, different players, but I think they've got the Marlies number right now, and I wouldn't be surprised. There's no reason why they shouldn't take both of those games, in my opinion. I'm open to suggestions on that one, but I would expect at very least a split, but I'm pretty much expecting this to be an easy 2 games for them.
Okay. Sean, what do you think, my man?
I'm at least going to put a qualifier and say if Toronto decides that 4 healthy goaltenders on its roster in the NHL is, one too many, and it's about time to send somebody down for development of the Marlies. If that's Hutch or Woll, I think that the Marlies can battle to at least a split, especially with Spider-Man, Alex Galchenyuk, currently in the lineup for them. He's someone who talent-wise does not belong in the AHL, but for the opposite reason, like he's too good, but somehow cannot put it together at the NHL level. So I think that this series will not be the one-sided ass beating from one side that it has been as it was in the previous 4 games. So as long as it's not D'Agostini starting back-to-back games, I'm going to say it's going to be a split weekend. If they do not get goaltending help, though, Spider-Man is not going to be enough. I'm taking the Heat to sweep.
And as for me, I suppose, you've got Toronto taking those first 2 games, Stockton taking the next 2, and then the Belleville victory that the Heat got. I'm going to say that Stockton loses that first game on Friday, but then comes back and wins that second game on Saturday. So
interesting take. I can respect that.
Hey, we're all a little different in regards to our predictions, so it'll be interesting to revisit this on Monday. And unfortunately, Paige can't come back on Monday, but we will revisit this and revisit your take, and you'll have to listen in and see how we all did. So,
interesting to see.
It will for sure. So that's Stockton and Toronto for the weekend. And Paige, before we let you go, where can people find your work and your social media presence regarding the Stockton Heat of Calgary?
So my Stockton Heat work will be on Full Press Hockey, just on their website there. I have done a little bit of rebranding on my Twitter, so you can find kind of more of my game updates for Stockton at Flames_update. So when I can, work pending, I try to do the play-by-plays, and I've been getting in on the post-game interviews. So even if you want me to ask something with the head coach or one of the players we're interviewing after the game, my DMs are open. So yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, Paige Stewart of Full Press Hockey. And once again, Paige, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and it's a pleasure to have you part of the Full Press family and to be hashtag Full Press official.
Yes, indeed. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. Well, have a good rest of your evening. Thanks for coming on, and we'll see you the next time you're available. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Thanks so much, guys.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks
for coming on.
Take care. All right, Paige Seward, our newest AHL staff member on Full Press Hockey. So, yeah, pleasure having her aboard. Definitely not a stranger to Sean and I. And, yeah, so that's our first segment. That's our first weekend preview. Hang tight. We're going to be right back. We're going to pay some bills real quick. We'll see you on the other side. All right, and we are back from the other side of the break. And once again, thank you to Paige Seward for coming on the show. Definitely a good conversation, Sean. I really enjoyed having her on, and she had a lot of good insight.
She did. I like having her on. She'll be back whenever we can get her.
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, not this Monday, but she just told us, or at least told me in messaging, that it's like a little gamble. It's like a little lottery making those picks. So she's definitely interested to see how all three of us, come out on the other end. So yeah. Canadian division behind us. Let's talk Atlantic division, aka Groundhog Day division, because it's Hartford, it's Bridgeport, and it's Providence again. Those three over and over and over for 24 games. So, Shawnee, let's focus on Hartford a little bit. Wolfpack started 2-0, and then they have dropped 3 straight games. What the hell is going on?
Well, for starters, they've gotten bad goaltending from everyone not named Keith Kincaid, who's only played 2 games, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's still Keith Kincaid.
Sure.
The defense takes some responsibility, but like those guys are letting up at least 1 bad goal a night. And when you're losing games 3-2 and 4-3 before empty net goals at the end, like that 1 goal means a whole lot. And we also kind of talked in the preview, like that we were concerned about some of the depth that they had. Like there were guys up front that we trusted and guys in the top roles that we trusted, but behind them, it started to look kind of sketchy. They've also had some problems with those top guys. I mean, Greco's been snake bit. He has 18 shots on goal and 0 goals. He also has looked at times like there's concrete in his gloves. Like his puck skills have not come with him out of quarantine quite fully yet. And that's still like, he's still shaking that rust off, knocking the concrete out.
Yeah. Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
I say, so that's been concerning for me. They have had guys who have looked good. Lettieri's looked all right. I can't pronounce his name. Kodarekin? He 55. Hartford 55.
Hartford 55.
He has looked good at times. I've seen him make a lot of big plays, and I don't want to say carry his line, but been the most noticeable when he's been on the ice of Hartford, when he's not, on the ice with guys like Greco and Lettieri and so on. But like he's been really good for them too.
Now I know that the power play, special teams. Let's talk special teams for the Wolfpack. I know that the power play has struggled, but I mean penalty kill. I mean they seem to have superiority in that regard. So what's the difference? Why the imbalance on special teams where the power play is so dismal and the penalty kill is so robust?
Well, I mean, the power play looked pretty good on Tuesday. I love that Hartford is using Greco's speed on controlled breakouts. I think that's a very good coaching aspect that they've managed to put in place, whether he's the guy who's breaking out of their zone with the puck coming through first, or he's the guy on the the drop pass that swings through with speed and basically catches everyone standing still in the neutral zone. That's a really well coached aspect, and using your assets well as a coach. They're doing a good job of creating offense in the high slot, and that goes for both units as well. One thing they should do is what NHL teams have been doing for a few years now, and that's loading up the top power play unit and then playing them 3/4 of the power play, typically the first 90 seconds. You see a lot better scoring outcome results from playing a stacked top unit for more time instead of trying to like balance two. Playing on the power play too, it's not that strenuous either. Like once you're in the zone, the puck does 80% of the work. So like you don't have to worry about guys playing 90-second shifts and just being exhausted. That shouldn't be an issue, and isn't for teams that use this strategy. PK wise, they run the check press or the wedge / triangle +1, which is, what every professional and amateur hockey team seems to do these days. Briefly, if you're not familiar with what that is, it's basically you have a little triangle. So you have one forward and two defensemen in the net front trying to cut off that inner slot area. And then you have one guy who basically just, depending on where the puck is, he chases that puck around. And then if he's chasing it on the left half wall and the puck goes to the right half wall, he transitions to being the top of the 3-person pyramid, and that other forward goes and chases. Or if it's down in the corner, that defenseman kicks out and those two forwards take his spot. So that rotating kind of rover guy changes. And we'll link to an article in the show notes that's from Brad Keffer, where he talks more in depth about the check press and how it works, because explaining it here is really not going to be able to do it too much justice. But we'll make sure that we put that link in the show notes and stuff like that. So if you're interested, you can go click on that. But the big difference between one team's version of a check press and the other is almost exclusively how aggressive they are with putting the pressure on. And Hartford has been incredibly aggressive in this aspect, which I like a lot. For me, as a very bad coach, I like to dial up the pressure all the way to 11. That's more my style. I would rather be high tempo and fast pace and lose shootouts than try and grind out 2-1 wins. So I love the fact that that's exactly what Hartford is doing. They're taking that check press and dialing pressure up to 11. Both their forwards and their defensemen are incredibly aggressive at pursuing the puck. And that's been good because it often puts pressure on players who aren't able to process fast enough, who either turn it over or just punt the puck into a safe area. It keeps them from controlling. It keeps the power play from controlling play as much and gives some of that control back to the penalty kill. It's bad because over-aggressiveness means guys can get caught not being in the passing lanes that they're responsible for, and quick passing can neutralize this pretty quickly. And if you watched the Providence game, you saw Providence make the most of that a couple times, where they were ready for that aggressive pressure and would just go bing, bing, bing. And then suddenly there's an open shooting lane. And you're like, where did all of our guys go? That's what happens when you dial it up to 11, is sometimes you get caught.
Right. And, I said that, it's not that Hartford's power play is super, it's in the top 10 in the league. It's 9th out of 28 teams, and their penalty kill isn't, Colorado Eagles bad. The Eagles are, the Eagles have 5.9. Penalty kill bad. I'm getting mixed up a little bit. Sorry about that. But
no, you're right.
So penalty kill. Yeah. Colorado's actually doing all right in the penalty kill. They're doing better than Hartford, but Hartford, goodness, I'm okay. I got mixed up. Hartford's penalty kill is 9th in the league. Hartford's power play is 18th. So that aggressive might come back to bite them a little bit. But
give me the percentages there. What are we? I think it's
sure. So Hartford, 3 power play goals and 20 chances, 15%.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah. So a little aggressive there, but yeah, it makes sense with your analysis and everything why that number is the way it is, because of that check press.
Well, and for their power play too, I don't think that their power play, having watched a good portion of it, has been bad. It's still, I think some of it is they're getting a little unlucky in the chances they're creating. And again, when you're going up against Providence for 50% of your games, who get to put out Swayman and or Vladar, that just sucks to be you, that you have, half of your games are trying to crack 2 very good goaltenders. But I think it's something that will move forward, but I do think stacking your number one power play unit, playing them 75% of the power play is a smart move. A lot of NHL teams do this. They are very successful with it. And it's something I'm surprised to see that hasn't infiltrated the AHL level more. Their penalty kill is good. I love what they're doing with it. They should keep doing that.
Yeah, and I got a little mixed up looking at the stats report. It's the check press is applicable to the penalty kill.
Yep.
And I mixed that up a little bit. So I apologize for our listeners who may have been a little confused because, well, Sean just dropped a lot of information, and I was looking at the sheet while listening to Sean, and the male brain doesn't multitask well normally. It's kind of scientifically proven. So sorry about that, everybody. So
it's science.
It is science. So science rules. Bill Nye the Science Guy. All right. Sidebar. Once again, to clarify, power play, Hartford, 18th in the league, 15% conversion rate. Penalty kill, Hartford, 9th in the league, only 3 goals allowed on 18 chances, 83.3% kill rate. So there you have it. We're done talking about Hartford and the check press and everything like that on the penalty kill. Let's have our picks for Hartford this week. They're at Bridgeport on Saturday at 1 p.m. And then they're at Providence on Monday at 1 p.m. So we will be able to cover that when we record on Monday for Tuesday's show. So Sean, I'm going to defer to you again. Give us your picks, man.
I'm torn here. I think they got a couple bad breaks in that Providence game that they just played. I think they're better than Bridgeport. I'm going to pick them to beat Bridgeport. I think Bridgeport is very clearly the worst team in that, Groundhog Day division.
Mm-hmm.
Providence, I don't have the heart to do it. I'm sorry, Wolfpack fans. I can't do it. I'm taking Providence in that one.
Sean, you and I are of the same mind in this series because Hartford's going to pick up a win against Bridgeport, and they're gonna lose against Providence. I have to stick to my guns with Providence. I think they're going to win 19 or 20 games. I'm sticking with it. I'm going to stick with it, and yeah, they're going to win against Bridgeport and lose against Providence. So,
also, quick note: if anyone is trying to Google check press, it's check like the country, not check like the hockey play.
Yes. Czech as in Czech Republic, not check as in forecheck, back check, body check, etc., poke check, all that fun stuff. All right. Well, we covered Hartford there, and let's keep on trucking. We'll take a break after we talk about the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins and their weekend. Sean, let's talk about Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Are they overperforming? Is it sustainable? I mean, let's take a look at their record here real quick. 4-2-1, 4-2-2 rather after 8 games. So a .625 point percentage, 5th out of 7 teams in the North Division. Again, is that sustainable?
I think they're overperforming a bit, mostly because I only trust Max Lagacé in net for them. I think Emil Larmy is better than his numbers indicate, but maybe not that much. I don't think Shane Starrett is very good. And they've gotten good play in front of them, but 102 PDO concerns me longer term. That being said, outside of insert Capitals goalie here and Gilles Shen, I don't have a lot of faith in the goalies they'll frequently shoot on this season. I stand by that Zane McIntyre isn't that good. I don't trust Montembeault to be good. And what Zach Fucali is really remains to be seen. So unless they're against Copley, Samsonov, or Sen, they have a real chance of shooting at a 12% clip on any given night. And this is also a team that is full of guys who look like quality penalty killers for them. So I think their PK success could be legitimate. So while I think they're overperforming based on talent level, I think they might be able to sustain that, if that makes sense, especially in like what is going to always be a short sample size this season. Like, I don't think Wilkes-Barre Scranton is this good, but I think there's a chance for them to, just ride the lightning here.
Yeah, it's such a unique season where you only have a handful of opponents that you're going to face off against, a number of times. And especially in the Northeast, it's like, obviously we just covered Hartford, and a lot of the North Division teams only have like 3 or 4 opponents. So you play these teams in a shortened scheduled season, and it's like, yeah, you get that chance to be better on the ice than you would be on paper, oddly enough. Normally it's the other way around from what I've noticed is teams are better on paper than they are on ice. But yeah, and it's interesting. You mentioned the PK, just a real quick note. We talked about Hartford having the ninth best PK in the league. Wilkes-Barre Scranton's 8th. So, I mean, but not just that, on the power play as well. The Wilkes-Barre Scranton and Hartford are also attached at the hip, because you've got Wilkes-Barre Scranton at 17, Hartford at 18. So neat little coincidence there that we're talking about them back to back, and they're literally right beside each other in the special team standings. So,
and on the penalty kill, they run the check press.
The check press, huh? Imagine that.
Every single team does it, and that's fine. Like, it's effective, but my God, do we never innovate in this sport?
Oh, I mean, analytics, at least off the ice.
But I'd like to see tactical innovations. I want to see crazy things. Give me 3 defensemen on the penalty kill.
That's what?
Yeah, I know.
3 defensemen?
Clutch your pearls right now.
My God, what are you talking about, sir? Yeah, I'm acting like I'm offended, but honestly, why not go for it? Somebody hire Sean. Somebody hire him as a coach. That would be.
I don't know if we want to do that. I don't.
It'd be,
I do not have the work ethic to be a hockey ops guy anymore.
If anything, it would be nothing but entertaining. So,
my post-game pressers would be highlight reel stuff.
Eat your heart out, torts. Sean would put you to shame. Oh, anyway, let's keep her trucking with the Pens, the baby Pens, rather. Nick Schilke. I see you. You kind of want to talk about him a little bit, huh?
Show of hands, who had Nick Schilke as one of the top scorers on Wilkes-Barre Scranton this year?
Welcome to 2020. No, I don't see any hands.
Yeah. And he's played well, but this should not be sustainable for him. He has 6 assists on this season, 2 of which are primary assists, and they were on passes made outside of the offensive zone. The rest are secondary assists, which history has shown are not repeatable statistics. Now, he's done a good job in the offensive zone, creating chances, and has looked improved over where I remember him from prior seasons, especially in Charlotte. But the only way he sustains this pace is based on what we just talked about with the goalies on the Penguins schedule. But he's not a point-a-game player under regular circumstances. And while I think he's a good two-way guy, I think he is batting above his ability. He's out-kicking his coverage right here, to use a good sports metaphor. But like I said, because their schedule features a lot of goalies that are not great, Bob, I think he may, I don't think he's going to sustain a point-a-game pace, but I think he's going to be in for a career year.
And with that all said, is Zohorna, is he the winning lotto ticket? I mean, we talk about that a lot with prospects, how the draft picks are oftentimes, the winning lottery ticket. Either they can be a bust or they can be a ding 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 ding, and garner a big payout. So is Zohorna that winning lottery ticket for Wilkes-Barre Scranton?
Well, the reason that. We called him a lotto ticket in the preview. We said that when you pull these guys out of Europe, that's what they are. They're lottery tickets. Some turn into Artemi Panarin. Others turn into, throw 2 Russian names together. You'll probably find some guy who played 4 games in the NHL. But let's not go that far and say that he's a winning lottery ticket. Okay. It's an 8-game sample. Let's not get all Stephen A. Smith here. But I've liked what I've seen from Zohorna so far. He moves really well for a skater that size. And while he isn't top end fast, he does have burst, which counts for a lot. But I've been impressed with him so far. He's shown smoother puck skills than I was anticipating, good hockey IQ, which I knew he had, but I didn't know it would translate this well. And I'd like to see him maintain this over the rest of the season before campaigning for him to get a look in Pittsburgh. But yeah, in terms of what can you show me that you're a winning lottery ticket in 8 games, he's checked a lot of those boxes. But again, 8 games.
Yeah, only a small sample size, so it's not indicative of a larger sample size for that matter. Yeah, I couldn't come up with another comparison, so we'll just hit it on the nose. So, all right, well, hey, you ready for some picks, Sean?
No, but let's do it anyway.
Oh, okay, all right. So, at Binghamton. The Baby Pens go to Binghamton, or New Jersey, rather, Newark, New Jersey, where the Binghamton Devils are playing this year. So Saturday at 1 p.m., that's when that game starts. And then the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins host the Lehigh Valley Phantoms on Monday at 5 p.m. So that game should be over by the time we record on Monday for Tuesday.
In theory.
Sean, in theory, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it'll go 6 overtimes or no. Phantoms have already had one of those this decade, so we won't go. Yeah, we won't go there. Or not this decade, rather. That was last decade.
Oh God, we're old.
I know. Hey, it's only 2021. I just, misspoke. But Sean, your picks, my good man.
Well, unless they get stabbed on the way to Newark, which, 50-50. I think they have a pretty good chance of pulling out Binghamton, a game against Binghamton, because as we've talked about, I don't have a lot of faith in Binghamton to get it done right now. And I'm going to continue to pick against them until they show me that they're ready to play 60 minutes and not look like a tire fire in transition for those 60 minutes. So I'm going to take Wilkes-Barre Scranton there.
And Lehigh Valley?
Lehigh Valley, I'm going to at least qualify it with who's in net. If Max Lagasse is in net, I'm taking Wilkes-Barre Scranton for the weekend. If it's Shane Starrett, I will take Lehigh Valley.
Gotcha. I'm going to say Binghamton continues their losing streak and bumps it to 7 games, I believe, unfortunately. And so Wilkes-Barre Scranton's going to win that game. And I think they drop it to Lehigh Valley because Lehigh Valley, I just think they got a lot going for them in net on the ice with Zayd Wisdom. And, I don't just want to focus on Wisdom. I mean, he's getting all the hype and all the press because he's the, young prospect and he's doing well. But I think the Phantoms, obviously they're first in the North Division, 5-1-2. So I think they keep that going and they get the victory over Wilkes-Barre Scranton on Monday. So those are my picks.
All right.
Okay. And now Hartford, Wilkes-Barre Scranton, no break, but now we're going to take a break. So stand by. We're going to have some advertisements and hear a word from our sponsors. All right. And we are back. We just got done talking about Hartford and Wilkes-Barre Scranton and their docket of games this upcoming weekend. And now we're going to shift to the Central Division. We're going to talk about the Texas Stars, which we haven't yet on this program, at least for our weekend previews, because, they've had games canceled. I mean, welcome to this COVID pandemic.
Winter stormscape.
And winter stormscape. Can't forget about that. So when you're dealing with a global pandemic and weird ass weather in Texas, you're going to get some games canceled. So Texas Stars, but hey, they're facing a Pacific Division opponent. Kind of a rarity this season to go interdivisional. I know.
Another division?
There's another division you can play against this year. Tucson Roadrunners. Yep. Texas and Tucson. And it's happening. It's happening.
All right, CC. So let's talk about this series here. We have been pumping the tires of Thomas Scholl, going back to the preseason, saying he deserves an AHL shot. He's gotten an AHL shot in Texas. What have you thought so far? I mean, has he been finding his game?
It certainly looks that way. I figured it would take him a few games to get used to the pace and the speed of the AHL. After playing in Slovakia for a handful of games, I mean, you've got that international sized rink. And, when a guy comes back over to North America for either the first time or, like Thomas Scholl, readjusting to the North American game in the smaller rink and a lot less, I don't know. There's a lot of factors that go into it. There's adjustments that happen. I'm not going to,
he doesn't have ECHL guys shooting him anymore.
He doesn't. Yeah. There's that as well. So, I mean, he certainly looked good in the past 2 games. So, the Texas defense in front of him certainly hasn't given him any easy workloads. He definitely has his work cut out for him in that regard. So, but I think he continues. I think the adjustment continues as Texas has struggled so far this season to really defend the home plate area in front of Scholl, but nothing in their film says that's a fluke, so he can only continue to get better and adjustments, now that he's away from the European game.
I think for me, I would say I expect Scholl to do well this season relative to the, shots that are being thrown at him. Like you said, they're not defending home plate very well. Like that first game against Tucson, they pulled out a win, but my God, like, did they just, throw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of defending the inner slot? Like, I think that is going to bring some of Scholl's numbers down, but not in a way that you can blame him. But my concern is like teams are going to see, a 904 save percentage and be like, oh, well, he's not that good, and fail to see, like, look at the shot quality he faced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things where, Sean, you always warn against to not just look at the numbers, but to look at the gameplay as well. And that's the thing is that, just because somebody has a little bit lower of a save percentage, look at their defense in front of them. That's the case with Thomas Scholl as well. So.
And I mean, one of the things that we try and preach, on the show is that you can't just, use analytics as your only analysis. Like hockey is like a salad. There's salad dressing, which is analytics, and then there are greens, which is watching film. Like if you just walked into someone's apartment and saw them chugging, Hidden Valley Ranch, you'd be like, oh, great, this person's a serial killer. Likewise, you see someone ordering a salad at a restaurant that like doesn't have any dressing on it. They're just eating raw greens. They're like, oh, that person's crazy. You need both. You need both the numbers and the film to make a good informed decision. And that's what people should do here. And always, but mostly here.
Yes.
So moving on, let's talk a little bit on the Tucson side of things. Victor Soderstrom, who we pumped the tires pretty hard in the preview, his numbers have not been outstanding, but what does he look like? Is he struggling or is this just bad luck?
Getting to see him in person, I think it's just unlucky by my viewings. He's doing a lot of things right that I like, but Tucson has struggled to finish the chances he's created. He's getting some time on the power play, which is good, and he's making good reads and passes. He's doing well on retrievals. He's communicating well with his forwards on rush assignments. I've been pleased with him, but the puck just hasn't been going in. It's been 7 games and he has 2 points. So, I mean, I'm not sounding the alarm. I mean, like in our last segment with Wilkes-Barre Scranton, it's the last guy we talked about had an 8-game sample size. So, it's a shortened season and it's early in that shortened season, fairly early anyway. So don't ring the alarm bells on Soderstrom just yet. Now, Barrett Hayton, he has been more concerning in my viewings. He's still dynamic with the puck, but there's been some moments where he just looks a bit rusty and has, those moments along the board where he loses battle and has just been outdone physically. I think Tucson in general in that series against Colorado, I think as a team, they were outdone physically. And so Hayton just kind of falls into that, a team mentality obviously you're going to have your moments where, you lay a big hit or something like that, but as a team and in Hayton's wheelhouse in general, yeah, they were just being outdone physically. I'm not mashing the panic button on him either yet, but definitely one to keep an eye on more so than Soderstrom for sure.
Absolutely. Now their special teams have really been clicking though. Do you have any thoughts on what their power play is doing? Why is it being so successful? And could we see, some improvement from that?
Yeah. Neil Graham and his special teams, I mean, dating back to Idaho, have always been rather good. And, Texas 5th in the league currently. They've got 25.7 conversion rate. So 9 power play goals, 4 on 35 chances. So one unit features Peterson and Burke on the half walls, which is fine, but it has them on the wrong half walls. So Burke is left-handed and Peterson is right-handed, and they should be on the offhand side so they can, one-time road passes across the way from the goaltender, but passes the Roadrunners are trying to set up but can't shoot right away because, wrong hand. And I was talking about Texas's power play. I went into that instead of Tucson's, didn't I?
A little bit, but it's all right. I followed.
Yeah.
Both have very good special teams.
They do. Yeah. Tucson's is 10th in the league. They've got a 19.2% conversion rate. I just got excited. I saw Texas at number 5. And so I started talking about him, but my notes with Tucson, just getting a little ahead of myself here, but yeah, I was like Peterson and Burke. I'm like, wait, I'll put my notes for Tucson. So yes, Tucson's power play is very good as well. I saw that, saw that in person against Colorado as well. Shit, can we do that over?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Mark down the time and we'll edit that up a bit.
Uh,
This is what happens when I write notes for me.
Well, I saw Texas was 5th. So I'm like, oh, we're going to be talking about Texas's power play. And then I saw Peterson and Burke. I started talking about them. I'm like, we are not talking about Texas right now.
Yeah,
So,
I have not watched Texas's power play.
Shit. Okay, 28 minutes-ish. Tucson power play. All right, let's start over. And
all right, hang on. Let me give you one thing here quick. So
Okay.
the big thing about them not being on the right side is that they can't make those one-time passes. And like, that's an easy adjustment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I got that. I saw that. I didn't read the rest of the paragraph. Like you said, I need to read ahead on the outline.
No, it's fine. That was the one thing I think we've fallen short on in this episode is I did not highlight like things left and right or for you and for us. Yeah.
Well, and I picked Texas and Tucson, and I didn't really look at the outline because I was busy all day. So
no worries, man. I've been lucky that we're in the down part of the cycle.
Down part of the cycle?
Politically, like we don't have any political polls.
Oh, yes. Good
so
point.
like when primary season comes, thank God you will see me basically be a mess. But hopefully by then, we can have enough built up that like we can reference old material when we're talking about players and not be completely wrong. So anyway.
Okay, restarting in 3, 2, and then you'll ask me about Tucson's special teams. Here we go.
All right, so Cece, let's talk special teams here. We got 2 very good power plays, but we've talked enough about Texas already. Let's talk Tucson power play. Texas is really good, but what do you see in Tucson's power play?
So Tucson's power play, you've got some good point getters in Peterson and Burke. So that's one unit on that, and it features them on the half walls rather, which is fine, but it has them on the wrong half walls. So Burke is left-handed and Peterson is right-handed and should be on the offhand side so they can, one-time railroad passes a little better. And it's passes that the Roadrunners are trying to set up but can't shoot right away because you're on the wrong hand. I mean, anybody that's played NHL, any of the NHL series, when you're setting up a one-timer, or trying to pass it to a guy, when, you got the backhand going on or the forehand going on, it's a little difficult, even more so in real life, obviously. But yeah, the other unit has been featuring Barrett Hayton, a lefty on the left-hand side. Again, I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on with the power play unit there. Currently they're, 10th in the league. They're 19.2 conversion rate on the power play. So they're a top 10 power play, but they could be better in my opinion.
And that's something too, where you would think like, because it's such an easy adjustment to make, you just flip them on that first unit. But for some reason they're sticking to, we're going to play guys on that side, even though they're making those passes, they're looking for those passes. It's weird. And it's weird to see a team kind of just stick to that more than you would think they would. Like sometimes you get caught, like you have an entry and they're just guys on that side and you can't shuffle up to get into shape. But like that's good analysis by you because that's not what they're doing. They're settling into that role, which is weird.
Yeah. And it's something I didn't notice when Tucson, was in Colorado for that 3-game series. But yeah, upon further review, I have noticed that, there's a lot of offhandedness going on. And so kind of bizarre.
Well, let's make some picks here. We got Friday, March 5th, 7 p.m. in Tucson, and then Saturday, March 6th, also at 7 p.m. in Tucson. So both games back to back, both in Tucson. CC, who you got?
Well, Texas took that Wednesday game, Wednesday, March 3rd, 5-2. And they're shaking off the rust, trying to get into a groove and everything. And by the way, speaking of Texas, there's a really good article that we put out on the Calder Farmstead Twitter. Emily Kaplan from ESPN wrote it, and she actually responded and said, thanks for retweeting it. So thank you, Emily Kaplan. Always good to communicate with the other hockey folks that are, I don't want to say below her, but, just not at ESPN. So
ESPN.
CC Hockley, ESPN. Yeah, no, sorry. I was picking up what you were laying down. Anyway, we're getting a little sidetracked here, but good article about Texas and San Jose and what San Jose, the Barracuda, had to endure. So go check that out. We retweeted it at Calder Farmstead on Twitter. But with that all said, I think Texas, I think they take that first game. Actually, no, I take it back. I think Tucson takes the first game. I think Texas takes the second game. I'm all about the splits. I don't know. It seems to be a good thing for me, but you're shaking your head. Why are you shaking your head?
Like Texas had a game that I don't want to say Scholl stole, but that I feel like they got a little bit lucky out of. Mm-hmm. I think that runs out this weekend. I'd taken Tucson to take the weekend, both games.
Okay. So there you have it. Differing opinions once again. So, it is what it is. All right. Well, that's Central Division versus Pacific Division. Little differentiation this week, not just a divisional matchup. So interdivisional. Kind of had to wrap my head around that. So those are our picks for Texas Tucson. Let's keep it rolling. Let's talk Manitoba and Belleville. Let's focus a little bit on Belleville. Is Formenton okay, Sean? Is he all right? Is he doing okay?
I think so.
Okay.
13 shots in 5 games is right on line with his marks for last season. He shot 17% last year, and I always thought that would come down as he no longer gets to live in the wake of Balsers, Batherson, and beyond. But the fact that he is 1 goal so far isn't terribly alarming to me. 4 straight games against Laval, who we feel comfortable saying is the dominant team in Canada this season in the AHL. So these games were likely to be tough and go kind of badly. Like, I don't think we should be sounding the panic button or, mashing the panic button just yet. And even in those games, he's created chances. He's looked fine to me. Pucks just haven't gone in for him. And those things will happen. It's 5 games. Yes, it's a little alarming. I would like to see him do a little more, but it's not for a lack of effort. He's, not just coasting through this season from what I've seen.
And shifting the focus a little bit, well, we're talking net, we're talking voodoo, we're talking netminders. Murray Pam has been covering the Senators, the Ottawa Senators in Belleville, and there's a lot going on in net. There's a lot of movement, a lot of just uncertainty, raised eyebrows, confusion. Insert adjective here, well, not adjective, but insert word here for just what the hell what the hell is going on in net for between Ottawa and Belleville, but obviously AHL podcast, especially the B-Sens.
Personnel wise, I've stopped trying to read those tea leaves. We have long documented that this is just a fool's errand. I have no idea what teams are going to do with their prospects, their taxi squad. I've stopped trying to guess. Ottawa and Belleville seem to be perfectly content just riding the Matt Murray go round with whoever's where on any given night. So, I mean, I have to imagine this isn't helpful for the goalies themselves. Oh, hey, you're getting a first start in Ottawa. Then you're going to Belleville. Then back to Ottawa, taxi squad. Nope, never mind, press box. Oh, back to Belleville. Start again. Belleville. Nope, we're going to sit you now. Now we're sending you back. That cannot be productive for you as a goaltender. That's just chaos. I don't understand what's going on. And I will also say, too, like we mentioned with Formenton, when you're playing Laval 4 straight games who are good, this is going to have bad results. This is going to make your results look not very good. And only Joey Decourt has played more than 1 game. So we have a 1 game, the smallest sample size we could possibly have on some of these guys. Let's not mash the panic button. Give the voodoo time to work.
And that seems to be the theme of this episode. We're highlighting both skaters and goaltenders, and we've got such a small sample size and such a screwy season. So if anybody has any overreactions or anything to this, it's take it easy. Relax. RELAX. Relax.
Yeah, because if you start doing hot takes and stuff, Stephen A. Smith will actually sue you for trademark infringement.
He will, and he'll say, stay off the weed. That's what he'll say. Anyway, let's keep talking about Belleville. Second game without Ridley Gregg. So, yeah, what's that all about?
Joel Bouchard's plan is coming together nicely, isn't it? Connor Zeri's leaving.
All the CHL guys you were talking about. Yes.
Joel Bouchard just sliding into those DMs for the CHL commission. Like, how do we make this happen?
How do we make
it easier for me?
Yes,
yep.
For sure.
I was concerned about Belleville's already kind of sketchy center depth, and then Ridley Gregg left, but Logan Brown sweeps in nicely to that 1C spot, but still their center depth is not great. This would have been a great spot for Philip Schlappick, but the Sens terminated his contract and made it sound like it was a mutual thing, which was weird, but nothing more has been really made public there, but weird that he was a guy that was on your roster, played a bunch of games last season and was okay-ish, I guess, could be useful in Belleville right now, but then you're just like, no, we're going to waive him and then terminate him. Weird.
Yeah, that's bizarre. I mean, they couldn't even get a trade partner to even trade him. Like
part of me wonders, did he want to just go back to Europe? Like, I don't know. This is wild speculation, so I'm going to try and avoid it. But like the fact that, I mean, if I had to pick a team to do a weird roster move, Ottawa, no question. But like, this is confusing. And because I think Schlappick's, no offense to him, like kind of a lower guy on the totem pole of, NHL concerns, I doubt we will ever know what's going on here.
Weird. Yeah, that is bizarre. Well, hey, let's talk Manitoba Moose. The Moose getting a nice influx of talent at a good time. Not a bad agreement with Vancouver, to have some guys kick over so they don't have to go across the border over to Utica. So they're benefiting from that. Sean, a little more in depth into that regard.
I mean, they do have that nice agreement there with Vancouver. I mean, if only another Canadian team didn't have to relocate their AHL franchise in order to figure stuff out. But in this case, this is Winnipeg's doing. I mean, this is Vesalainen and Gustafsson, coming to the ring with a steel chair. Gustafsson played a lot last year with Kristen Reichel, who's currently day-to-day, but sounds like he's expected back soon. I think we could see them reunited and, turn on the faucet again in terms of goals scored. We didn't talk about Vesalainen in our season preview because I didn't think there was a chance he'd spend significant time with the Moose. And as we detailed ad nauseum, I have no idea what teams are doing with their prospects and taxi squads. So here we are. Vesalainen has a lot of raw tools, but I definitely was disappointed last season with 30 points in 60 games. He's huge, skates well, has good puck skills, and often looks like a can't miss top 6 prospect in the NHL. But there are moments where it's just, he, looks like he bought a ticket to the game. He's just out there to see what happens instead of taking part. And that's, I think, what keeps him in this kind of weird status is like, he has so many raw tools that, like, you'll see he'll take a shift where he'll take the puck from the goal line, skate end to end, deke through 2 guys and just roof it. And then he'll, not get mentioned by the announcer the rest of the night because he didn't touch the puck. Like, that's something that I'm hoping that serves as kind of a wake-up call for him as he gets sent, back down to Manitoba here, is that he picks up that like pro mentality and that more consistency. Because that's definitely what's needed from him. But I still have a lot of hope that he pans out as a stud. But like, this shifts a lot of things for Manitoba in terms of putting guys that were playing in over their heads. Like, we talked about how their bottom 6 was just getting caved in against Laval and somewhat against other teams as well. Like, this is going to put Manitoba back into the places it wants to be in terms of rolling out forward lines. Like, I think you're going to see a much more competitive looking team from them going forward. So yeah, this is a nice influx at a good time, like you said.
Yeah. And Manitoba against Belleville, you're talking about the 2 teams that have a sub 500 point percentage, the only 2 teams in the Canadian division to have that. So Manitoba 4, Belleville 5. Like you said, Manitoba, you think is trending in the right direction with the weekend series, at Manitoba, both Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. Sean, who do you got?
I mean, before Manitoba decided literally earlier today to send those guys down, I was leaning towards Belleville. I'm not now, though. I'm taking Moose to sweep.
Okay. And actually, I have a correction to make. Those games are going to be in Belleville. And the Friday game is going to be 7 p.m. And the Saturday game is going to be at 3 p.m. So that's my bad right there.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Little afternoon delight.
Exactly. Pew! I'm gonna say, let's see. God, am I gonna pick another split? I'm gonna pick another split. Damn it! You betcha. I think Belleville.
Come to the dark side.
No, I don't like picking sweeps. It's too much. It's too much. Belleville wins the first game. Manitoba wins the second. Yeah. So there's that. Well, hey, we've covered a number of divisions back and forth and everything like that. So let's take a break, shall we? We need to get some ads in here, I think, and then we'll talk about our last two series, which are in the Pacific Division. And hey, we're gonna invite a new friend onto the show, and we're gonna cover the San Jose Barracuda, who we have yet to have talked about. Words are hard. We haven't talked about them yet in our previews or our recaps. So Kevin Lacy from Teal, USA is going to be joining the program on the other side of this break. So hang with us. We'll be right back. We are back from break. We've covered pretty much every division in the AHL except for one. And we've got a couple series in the Pacific Division that we wanted to talk about. And so first and foremost, we're going to talk about the San Jose Barracuda against the San Diego Gulls. And I figured this would be a good series to bring on a friend who was on our previous show in the corners. And, when we were talking about the San Jose Barracuda and kind of previewing their season in the off season, again, previous program, not the recent San Jose Barracuda that Sean and I did for the Calder Farmstead. So anyway, all of that aside, we're bringing on our friend Kevin Lacy from Teal, USA. So Kevin, welcome back to the program, my friend. And there you go. How you doing, bud?
Hey, everybody. I'm here in nice, warm San Jose. It was a very pleasant day here. It has been the last several days, which is a nice change for the Barracuda, who are, of course, back on the road. But I guess anything's better than 0-degree Texas, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. We mentioned that Emily Kaplan article about the Barracuda in Texas and the bus, turning sideways on that overpass there, and yeah, great read. Very scary. Go ahead.
Sorry, real quick, on the show that I'm on, In the Reef, on the Teal USA YouTube network, Nick Nolenberger, who is the voice of the Barracuda, gave me the firsthand account of that sideways excursion. And then the aftermath the following week when they were trying to get out of Texas, and the driver wanted nothing to do with any of the roads in Texas, so they got a new driver and all that situation. So if you're interested in hearing more about what Emily mentioned on her article, Nick talks about it on my show, In the Reef. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, definitely a lot of different angles to cover with that story, because I mean, you've got the pandemic and San Jose having to relocate to Arizona for a couple months, and then of course going to Texas and then having to deal with the weather down there. It's been a crazy season for sure. So let's talk on ice. How does that sound?
Well, I think it sounds great, because right now the Barracuda are on a 3-game playing streak. So that's the longest of the season.
I 3-game playing streak. Oh God, I never thought I'd hear anything about that. So, yeah, it's hard to make something of San Jose, especially with how infrequently that they are playing. So, I know Kevin on social media, you're like, well, here's San Jose's lineup for tonight, and it's just like blank, 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 and then the hashtag SJ versus PPD for postponed. It's like, oh God, poor sad. San Jose, poor Barracuda. But hey, it's hard to make something of San Jose. Stub toe versus Tucson and Texas, 2 weeks off. They beat a struggling Ontario. Then they get smashed on Wednesday night. It's like, what's going on with the Barracuda, Kevin? I mean, like you said, is it an inconsistency thing with them?
Well, I think just in general, the nature of the beast is, look, the Sharks are a below average team in the NHL right now, and they're going to be pulling at any good looking string they possibly can on that ball of yarn that is the Barracuda. So you look at the 5 call-ups that they just made earlier in the week. Joachim Blichfeld, best of luck riding the pine now in the NHL for a couple of games. Yeesh. But John Leonard, early on in the season, was sent down to get some confidence. He got a whole whopping 2 games of confidence, and they pulled him right back up. Joachim Blichfeld, Joel Chelman has been great. Nick DeSimone has been great. Any player who has had any semblance of good play gets immediately called up to the NHL roster, even if it's taxi squad. So even when there haven't been any roster moves, there still have been consistent lineup changes. So it's very weird to see how Roy Sommer has been deploying his team night in, night out, and night off, I guess, based on just how he feels and how the team's feeling. Because I don't know, I feel like I have posted a different lineup every game. Even if there is a line that could be kept the same, they're not. So this team is going to be battling inconsistency, I think, for a while. And us here in San Jose need to ride the highs. And if there are lows, then change the channel and hope the Sharks game is better.
So let's dive into that a little bit, because that was one of the things in our preview that we talked about and that we got your help on it when we were trying to formulate it, who to talk about. It's like, there is literally half of San Jose on the roster. I don't mean like San Jose, the franchise. I mean the actual town. They have 34 players who have played a game for the CUDA this year. How is managing that sheer insanity of a roster like working out for Roy Sommer? Like, does he seem, when he comes to press conferences, like he's just pulling his hair out every night trying to figure this out? Or give me some of your takes on how he's managed this, monstrosity of a roster.
Well, I think that with Roy Sommer, first off, I don't think it's pulling his hair out more as blowing his hair out, because the last couple of interviews that I've seen on YouTube, his hair is all over the place. And so I'm not sure what's going on there, but he's got that pandemic flow going pretty well right now.
Sean can attest. Sean can attest. Look at that flow he's got going on. So.
Yeah. Sean's got it going good for sure.
For sure.
But with Roy Sommer, he has had to play the juggling act a lot over the last, especially the last 5 years, but throughout his tenure with the Sharks. I think it's just a little bit more frequently now, because year after year, the Kentucky, Worcester, San Jose, Cleveland, conglomerate that is our farm affiliate. Mm-hmm. 1 year it's all veterans, the next year it's all kids, and even breaking it down to a month by month thing. And that's kind of where the Barracuda are at right now, where it's day by day. I think he's used to having to make constant adjustments on the fly. And he's certainly, given that he's been with this organization for so long, he's managed every possible lineup that he can. So in that respect, Roy Sommer's definitely the guy behind the bench that should be behind the bench for this club. But given that it is a young team and you're going to see a lot of growing pains, and there are a lot of players on this roster, you don't have a whole lot of wiggle room right now. You want to give the kids time to make mistakes and learn from them and grow. But we've seen situations like with Jake McGrew earlier in the year, that he made a very poor play on a breakaway and was scratched the very next game because it was next guy up. The Barracuda did not have time to be messing around with Jake McGrew making junior mistakes. Granted, I'll give McGrew the benefit of the doubt that he's been injured a lot over the past couple of years in juniors. So I think he's just trying to establish stable ground. But we have seen the growing pains. Some players were sent back to their junior clubs, like top prospects Ozzy Weisblatt and Tristan Robbins. Dylan Hamelick and Brandon Coe are still with the roster, but they have not played at all. The team has somehow reestablished an unofficial affiliation with the Allen Americans recently. So there it's like rolling the magic 8 ball, just shaking the magic 8 ball and seeing what lineup it's going to be, and hope that that's what's going to win them the game that given night.
Go ahead, Sean.
No, see, I was going to move on to the next question. So if you got something else, please go.
Oh, I was just going to add about, you alluded to it, Kevin, the 2-game suspension for Joachim Blichfeld. And kind of leading with that right side and hitting Nathan McKinnon in the head. Yeah, probably not. Department of Player Safety. That's a whole nother conversation. For,
sure.
A whole nother time. But yeah, Blichfeld, I mean, yeah, you just saw Sean's opinion there with the thumbs down if you're watching the video here. But, like you alluded to, Kevin, 6-0 just ran out of the building by Bakersfield in the last game on Wednesday, March 3rd. And, so that kind of begs the question, do the CUDA win if Blichfeld, doesn't play for the team? Because, I mean, he was averaging, multiple points per game and keeping San Jose, competitive in that regard. So you take him out of the lineup, obviously suspended for 2 games in the NHL. Does San Jose kind of lose a little bit of an edge when he's not in the roster?
I definitely believe that your point is valid. And I will also commend you guys, because I did see the show notes before we put this all together. And before that Bakersfield game, your question was, can the Barracuda score if Joachim Blichfeld doesn't? Then he was recalled, and they literally did not score the next game. So foreseen points for you guys.
Hey, that's just a little clairvoyance going on, I suppose.
Yeah. But when you compound that with Alex True getting called up, Joel Chelman, as I mentioned, got called up, Nick DeSimone, who easily to me has been the best defenseman for the Barracuda so far this season, which is great to see, because I've been I feel like he's trended the wrong way the last couple of years. So he's rebounded very strong this year and proven himself that he at least should be on the taxi squad so far. So taking away these crucial assets for the Barracuda, I'm not that surprised that we saw them get shut out in that last game. It's very unfortunate, because the Barracuda were coming off 2 extremely strong games against Ontario. I know that Ontario has been struggling, but that first period in the first game against Ontario, the Reign came out to a 3-0 lead and scored 3 goals, and I think it was 3:05 or something like that. So the Barracuda came back, scored 4 in a row, and won that game 6-3. The very next game, won 3-1. Barracuda were feeling really good going into that game against Bakersfield, but you see 5 men up, 5 men down, a goaltending change. Alexei Melnichuk, who had a whopping 2 games and a period of NHL, actually half a period, I think, of NHL experience. That's his whole North American experience right now. So going into that game, very unproven. I did not think he started well at all. I think the team struggled defensively. They made a lot of mistakes. So then it comes to your next veterans, which are like Antti Suomela and Fredrik Handemark, who's new to North America, but he's 26, 27 years old and been playing for years in Sweden. So those are the types of players who need to step it up. We did not see that in the last game, but hopefully in this series against the division leading San Diego Gulls, the next 3 games, barring postponements, they're going to have to step up. Someone has to step up and take charge, because there is no Weissblatt, there is no Robbins, there's no Blichfeld, all the players that I mentioned before. So who's it going to be? And is Melnichuk going to kind of match what everyone has been saying about his play overseas? A very, I'm not going to say high caliber goalie, but you don't get great free agent goalies, but you can kind of develop these free agent goalies into great goalies. People have high hopes in San Jose for Alexei Melnichuk. I think I'm the most cautiously optimistic person in San Jose on that. But so far, I think he played better towards the end of the last game. But he's going to have to really bring out all the stops, literally, in the 3 games against San Diego. Okay.
So let's switch sides here for a little bit and talk briefly about San Diego and how they've, enjoyed or not enjoyed life without Trevor Zegras. They decided that I thought initially that we weren't going to see Jamie Drysdale either, but Anaheim decided that he got there, and just kidding. We're sending you literally back the next day because this is made up. We're now just doing roster moves to troll elite prospects.
I think they were just doing it for San Jose. Like, oh, you guys are going to be making roster changes every day? Well, good luck guessing our luck too, boys.
Like, this has gotten to a point where that's what it feels like. I feel bad for the people at elite prospects who do the transfer thing every day. Like, this season has got to, I hope whatever they get paid, they get double this season, because it's really, really ridiculous, especially with Drysdale. Like, did you even leave town?
That's a curious thing. I've always wondered that about San Jose, given that back when the farm team was in Worcester and you'd see Jamie McGinn getting called up and sent down every other day. Oh. I think it was something like 14 times that season or something absurd. And a lot of them were just paper transactions. So I can't remember if he officially has to travel or not, but I know that the paperwork does have to at least be submitted and signed off. So with Drysdale at, San Jose, now it's literally across the hall. It's no big deal. Drysdale, San Diego to Anaheim, not too bad, but you still feel for the guy, because that Southern California traffic's no joke if he does have to actually make that trip.
Yeah,
and fly him.
I understand this year with the taxi squad and moving guys back and forth, and there's a daily cap benefit. So they're getting something from those, as you said, paper transactions. But calling a dude from the minors to the squad and then sending him back, I don't know what you're gaining there other than, like you said, just trolling the Sharks for yo-yoing dudes like that. That just does not click with me. But
the only thing I can think of is it's a practice situation, wanting to get him in NHL practice, but for one day,
it's one practice. Okay. I mean, the practice is literally shorter than his drive one way. I really, that feels so egregious. But
it's a great call. It really is.
Yeah, and talking about San Diego on the ice, they were leading the division. They were tied. They were neck and neck with Henderson, and they've dropped their last 4 games. Sean called the weekend series against Henderson. He said, Henderson Silver Knights, PDO be damned. They're gonna keep winning. And Henderson, by God, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, they swept San Diego. And then San Diego also dropping an overtime heartbreaker to Ontario, 5-4 on Wednesday night, March 3rd. And so San Diego is now, 8-4 when they were just 8-0 4 games ago. And so they're 8-4, and San Jose coming into San Diego rather this weekend. Are you starting to see some of the bottom 6 guys of San Diego above their heads? I mean, have you really been keep in touch with the goals? I mean, this is the first meeting between the Barracuda and the goals this year. So what do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't been able to catch too many of the goals, which stinks, because the goals are actually the team that I am most interested to watch this season outside of the Barracuda, and a team that generally I just enjoy watching because the Ducks really put a lot into their farm affiliation with San Diego. So for me, it's more of I'd like to see what Trevor Carrick does against the former, his former team. But I think San Diego will be fine. I hope they won't be fine until after the next 3 games, but I think they're overall going to be okay. They still have a ton of great talent on that team on the front end and the back end, and in their goaltending as well. But we here in San Jose, from the playoffs a couple of years ago, we really got on goaltender Jeff Glass. Okay, when I say we, I mean me. I'm the one who was starting the Glass is broken chants, and it caught fire. But Be that as it may, I don't know if we'll see Jeff Glass in net because Lucas Dostal has been fantastic for them. And they even have Ole Eriksson Ek as their third string right now. And he's a high quality prospect for them as well. So I think San Diego's still well-rounded, even without Trevor Zegras. Jamie Drysdale is the player who I absolutely loved from the most recent draft. Those two players, Zegras and Drysdale, are gems. And then the Ducks also waived Brendan Gooley today, and he's a solid player, especially at the AHL level. So that does give them some more defensive depth going into these 3 games. So again, back to it, from a Barracuda standpoint, need to step up, especially with the goals, trying to, they're going to be upset about those losses to Henderson. So they're going to be coming out on fire. You'd like to see San Jose rebound saying, hey, we're better than 6-0. Like, come on. So I'm very intrigued to see how it goes. But I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if we see a blowout one way in the first game, a blowout one way in the second game, and then see what happens with the rubber match.
Yeah, and I think with the depth with San Diego, like, yes, you're going to see guys get put in spots that are maybe not ideal, but like, I don't think just looking at the roster and who they're, trotting out there on lines, like, nobody's in over their head. Like, there are some less than ideal people in less than ideal places, but like, for what rosters look like this season, this is still a really good team top to bottom. I would not be concerned yet if they, if Anaheim decides to pluck a couple more guys, we can revisit this conversation. But like, I also think too, the Gulls do a pretty good job of not trying to stack their top 6 with all their best forwards and kind of spreading guys out a little bit more, which is smart. But I mean, I expect that from Kevin Dineen, who I think is a very good coach. And if he spoke French, may not have a job in San Diego right now, but
well,
that's
hey,
just me.
Kevin, you kind of alluded to some predictions in regards to blowouts. So
sure,
let's get to it. Let's finish up our segment here with some concrete predictions. We've got, let's focus on the weekend. I know we got that Tuesday game as well, but in San Diego, you got Friday at 7 p.m., Saturday at 7:30. Kevin, who do you got in each of those games?
Okay, Friday night, I have the San Diego Gulls coming out with a 4-1 victory.
Okay.
I'm very curious to see who starts in net for the second game for the Barracuda in particular, because so far it has only been Kornash and Melnichuk. Well, I'm sorry. Sam Harvey did get 2 games in Tampa, in Texas, while both those 2 goalies were up with the NHL club. Zach Sawchenko has not seen any action yet. I'm curious to see if he gets a start, because as I have mentioned to you guys, and you mentioned on your season preview, I think, well, outside of Melnichuk, I think Sawchenko has proven to be so far a better goalie than anyone else with the Barracuda, including Kornash. But he hasn't gotten any games yet. So I think Melnichuk has to start the Friday game, but would he start the Saturday game too? I don't know. And that's the game that I picked the Barracuda to rebound and win 3-0. So a shutout there. Now the Monday game. I don't want to do this. I'm representing San Jose, but I'm going to say San Diego 3-1 after an empty netter.
Now, I told you to just pick the weekend, Kevin. You're going for extra credit here, and I appreciate that. So you get some extra bonus points there. You just no, you were going above and beyond, and I cannot ask anything more of our guests than to go above and beyond and make an additional prediction. So kudos to you for that. But hey, Sean's got some picks. He's just going to pick the 2 games because he's we're focused on the weekend here. So, and we want to.
Here come the correct picks.
Hey, he got them all except for 1 last week. So
yeah, I couldn't bring myself to pick against Chicago. That was the one I got wrong. I got everything else correct in the picks we made. So I at least want to say, my PDO pick, my picks for PDO That's looking great. It's not going to hold, but we're going to make some picks here. I like your logic of you think there's going to be a statement made Friday and then a reverse of that statement Saturday, but I'm going to turn it the other way. I think San Jose saw that 6-0 shellacking that they took from the Kingslayer in Bakersfield, and they said, we're not having that. We can't put that effort out. We're coming in Friday. We're coming in guns blazing. We're going to bring a full 60. I think that's the one that they take San Diego, that they sneak away from San Diego with. And I think San Diego then turns the tables on them on Saturday. And it's like, we can't just, roll over for these guys and get swept by the weekend. We got to make a stand here for ourselves. San Diego takes Saturday. So I'm calling for the CC Hockley version of the split here, but I'm taking the opposite side of you.
And guess what? I am taking the Sean O'Brien approach. And yeah, I don't think I've predicted a sweep yet. If I have, it's only been like once or twice. I'm going to say San Jose takes both games. I'm going to say San Diego's in a bit of a funk, and they're in a bit of a, I'm going to say they extend that losing streak to 6 games.
The Zegras hangover.
The Zegras hangover. And Kevin, I will say, we refer to Bakersfield as the Kingslayer, a little Jaime Lannister status. Jaime Lannister, if I can pronounce that correctly, from Game of Thrones, a little Kingslayer status because Bakersfield ended Henderson's and San Diego's undefeated start to their seasons in back-to-back games. So that is why Bakersfield has been dubbed thusly the Kingslayer.
So is it a good thing that San Jose's home opener was postponed because of COVID-19 against Bakersfield, which that game has been pushed all the way out to the end or to the beginning of May. So I guess we have time there.
Yeah.
To ruin a home opener. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. Especially Bakersfield with the big sword, just cutting down Henderson and San Diego off their undefeated pedestals. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good thing. So, well, hey, Kevin, it has been a pleasure. It was good to have you on last time. Good to have you on this time. And I'm going to venture to say that we'll probably have you on in the future as well, if you'd be willing to come back on.
I think I can manage that, guys. I think I can make myself available for you. It's going to be tough though.
Oh, sure. It always is. I mean, especially since, you're an hour behind and we record kind of later. And yeah, I'm sure it will be tough. I see that smile on your face.
Let's try and follow it up after a 6-0 win, please.
Right? Yeah, there you go. So Kevin, real quick, before we let you go, where can people find the work that you do for Teal Town USA?
So I unfortunately have not written in a very long time, but we do have a lot of articles, great articles on the Sharks and the Barracuda on tealtownusa.com. You can also follow us on most social media platforms at tealtownusa. I am at Kevin Lacy 22. That's Lacy. And I may not agree with your opinion, but I'll be glad to reply to you anyway. No, I'm kidding. I'm actually a pretty nice guy. So please send your messages my way and hopefully I can answer them.
Very good. Very good. Hey, and by the way, Kevin, Teal Town USA, just kind of their reach. I have a friend who lives in Spokane, Washington he grew up in the Bay Area, Sharks fan. He listens to Teal Town USA. He's like, hey, you mentioned that on your podcast. I listened to that program. I'm like, that's awesome. I had no idea. So there you go.
Awesome. I think I know who you're talking about because the other night I was actually on Brody Brazil, who is our studio analyst for the Sharks. He was doing a live feed, and I think I saw that person commenting in the chat from Spokane. So there you go. So glad to hear that we're reaching up there.
Yeah, small world. Hockey is a small world for sure. But Kevin, thanks for coming on, man. And we'll see if our predictions shake out. How about coming back on Monday and we'll see how that works out? Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Awesome,
all
man.
Right, we'll see you then.
All right. Kevin Lacy from Teal Town, USA. And we're going to take a quick break because it was a really good conversation. It lasted almost half an hour. So I think we need some advertisements to break it up, and we'll cover Colorado and Henderson on the other side of it. How's that sound, Sean?
That sounds good.
Excellent. We'll see you guys soon. Like really soon. Like just hang tight, please. All right, and we are back from our ad break. And last but not least, Colorado and Henderson. We'll make this quick because we don't want a super long episode, and we got to get to the lightning round, the speed round, the bonus round. It's a new thing, and I think it's good to cover the rest of the series. But yeah, Colorado and Henderson. I will be at the game on that Saturday night that they're playing. They're also playing Friday night, 7:05 p.m. start time Mountain, and yeah, Sean, I think you got some questions for me. So lay it on me, my friend.
I do. Let's fire up the PDO train here. Woot woot. Is Ryan Murphy the best defenseman in the league?
If not, he's definitely up there. I mean, looking at the point sheet and everything, he's definitely a contributor. He definitely, makes those plays. In regard to, gosh, and I'm trying to remember the exact number that he's got going on. 3 goals, 7 assists for 10 total points. I mean, he's on the overall leaders list in regards to the AHL total. In regards to defensemen, he's at the top of the list. 10 points, he just sits right up there. So if he's not one of the best defensemen in the league, at least in regards to playmaking ability and, could pot in a few goals too, I'd say he's at least, I'd say he's probably the best, if not one of the best.
It's funny because on the Tableau page, there are name tags for players who are like a little further away from the pack, and he's one of the few of them. He is currently at a ridiculous point shares per game of 0.17, which is, whoa. Yeah. If you go back to previous seasons and do a little bit of, side of the napkin math, you'll see that that's like double what most players do for a point season or point share per game. He's been on an insane pace. I'm refused. I've been down the Vegas path of like, they can't possibly be this good before. I'm not doing it. I'm jumping aboard the train. I'm willing to cast my doubts aside and accept Henderson as our PDO overlords.
You know what? There's something to be said about that first season Nevada magic. I mean, like you mentioned Vegas, and now Henderson just blowing everybody out of the water, and our preseason predictions as well. And Henderson says, I see your preseason predictions and I spit on them. I fart in their general direction. Hey, we're going with Silver Knights. You got the Squire announcing the goals. Why not just right? That's so awesome. Why not embrace the Monty Python thing and say, it's only a model, and I fought in your general direction. Your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries. Just random Monty Python quotes at the Orleans Arena there. I think that would be it's just a great touch. But anyway, I digress. I'm getting too excited about that. That's fun.
Let's bump over to the Eagles here just for a second. And one of the things I've noticed about the Eagles in kind of getting a little bit of them on film and seeing some of their stat lines is that they don't really seem to do it with star power, that they're more of a rolling 4 lines, total team effort, offense by committee kind of thing, instead of basically just putting it all on like TJ Tynan's shoulders, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you've got the Liam O'Briens and the Jason Megnas who have been, since they've come onto the team from the taxi squad. And I think maybe O'Brien had an injury. I think that's just conjecture, but I'm not quite sure. So yeah, it's kind of been a team effort. Having O'Brien and Megna come into the team and have an immediate impact. I mean, Ryan Wagner, second on the team in scoring. I mean, he's tied for first actually with 2 goals and 3 assists with TJ Tynan. And Wagner is normally like a 3rd or 4th line guy. I mean, he did have to step up to first line minutes while everybody was injured on the Avalanche, and the taxi squad guys had to come up. But to avoid rambling too much, your assessment's pretty well right. I mean, Henderson kind of does it by committee as well. I mean, you notice their scoring is kind of spread out. There's not like granted you have, Ryan Murphy, like we talked about, and his scoring ways and leading all defensemen in the league in scoring. But, the Eagles, yeah, they've kind of adopted that same, team effort over star power. That's definitely a pretty apt, not comparison, but a pretty apt description of what the Eagles are trying to accomplish. And especially now that they've got some, NHL, AHL fringe guys on their squad.
Yep. And for them this weekend, in this series coming up here, how important are winning the special teams battles to their chances in coming out with some W's here?
The Eagles special teams, their power play is atrocious. They've got a solid PP1 line, but for whatever reason, they just can't put the puck in the back of the net when they've got the man advantage. I mean, they are dead last in the league with a 5.9, conversion rate on the power play. And it's awful. It's bad. And unfortunately, since the Eagles have come into the AHL, that's kind of been their calling card, is that their power play is either, bottom third or as opposed to right now. Well, not opposed to right now, but right now they are the bottom. So special team is a must, like to get that clicking and to get all those guys on the same page. I noticed against Tucson, they cycle the puck around well. They make those Royal Road passes, but they ran into a hot goaltender, at least on the power play, in Prosvetov. And so, hopefully they can kind of crack that nut, whether it be, Logan Thompson or Ryan Ferguson, or I think Oscar Dansk is back on the taxi squad for Vegas. So, I mean, whoever's in
yeah,
that,
but who knows what's going to happen between now and literally 5 minutes from now.
Look at me making the mistakes that you've warned against for this whole time and saying, you know what? I know, wag your finger at me because I do deserve that because I'm here trying to make predictions. But in short, yes, Eagles must win the special teams battle because their power play, literally, there's nowhere to go but up. And so if they get that taken care of, their PK is all right. They can, the PK, 10th in the league. It's good. If they maintain that quality PK, but yeah, power play, nowhere to go but up. Gotta win that.
For sure. And especially too, I think at some point, like, you can't be that bad on the power play intentionally. Some of it has got to be just pucks are not going in. Like, and from what it sounds like from the way you talk about them, like it's not they're just terrible. It's some of it is, yeah, they could be a little better, but like pucks aren't going in for them. They also have a pretty good penalty differential. So they should be getting more opportunities in special teams than they're giving. Whereas Henderson has the opposite problem, currently averaging 4.1 penalty kills per game versus 3.8 power plays per game as of Monday's data. Whereas the Eagles are 4.2 power plays per game versus 3.6 kills per game. So getting that extra, managing to try and squeeze out an extra opportunity there per game should benefit them if they can at least get a little bit better puck luck on the power play.
Right. Yeah, well, and I'm sorry, I don't sound too enthused because the Eagles' power play is awful. I mean, it not awful looking on the ice because I've seen that, but it's just the numbers are there. I mean, well, the numbers aren't there, so yeah, it's not something I'm very bullish about.
And I mean, given the results that they've had, I understand that frustration. I really do. It's having to watch Hershey's power play. I feel your pain, brother.
You know. So, hey, with all that said, let's make some predictions. I'm gonna defer to you on this first, and then I'll chime in here at the end. So, who you got?
All right. So, for these two, we got a Friday, March 5th, 7:05 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and then Saturday, March 6th, 7:05 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Both of these are in Colorado. They do play Monday, but we're not going to pick that game because we literally it won't start until after we have started recording the recap. So that's true. We won't get to be held accountable for that choice, and I'm not about that life. For me, I am on this PDO train for as long as it goes. You will have to kick me off this PDO train. Henderson all the way, sweep.
Wow. See, I said wow last time, and I had to make a video showing that I was my wows were misplaced apparently. So
PDO train.
Woot woot. The deadpan chugga. Woot woot. All right, my picks. This is tougher. See, Colorado seems to be gelling, and let's say Henderson wins the first one and Colorado wins the second. That is my pick. So,
all right.
I know. Magic. John is conjuring some magic. There you go. Anyway, so that PDO train is magical, apparently. And that's it for our lengthy series previews for the weekend. We're going to do something a little different now and go into the speed round. We're going to say one sentence and go with a pick. So, yeah, Friday, weekend series, and then Saturday, and then Sunday. I think I need to cue up some music here. So give me a second to do that. Hang on.
Do some stretching, crack the neck,
get
loose, because this is gonna be bam, bam, bam. Let's go.
Let's do it. Okay. Let's test the sound here. We got loop on. Can you hear this?
Yep.
All right. Sean, take it away.
All right, let's go Cleveland, Chicago first. I'm saying they play Friday, Saturday. I say Chicago's bad penalties and struggling PK finally cost them a game. Split weekend if Cleveland can get a start from not Brad Thiessen. CC, Cleveland, Chicago.
Cleveland, Chicago, Friday, Saturday. I'm going to say split weekend as well.
Ontario, Bakersfield. I'm going to say depends on goalie matchups. If Berube or Grosnick get a start, I'll take Ontario. Otherwise, Kingslayer. Please, someone score a power play goal for once.
Oh, Ontario just can't put it together on the ice. I'm going to say Bakersfield sweeps.
All right, Iowa, Rockford. I don't know what coach or executive or whoever Cale Morris pissed off, but Rockford doesn't seem to want to start the only goalie that's looked viable for them this season. If he's not playing in this series, I'll take the Wild to sweep. If Cale Morris gets starts, I'll take Rockford in those games.
I'm going to say Iowa takes one, Rockford takes one. We'll go with the split.
Saturday, Lehigh Valley Phantoms against Hershey. Too much Willman and Wisdom. Bears aren't defending the front of the net well enough, and their musical goaltenders cost them. I'm taking the Phantoms by a lot.
Okay. I'm going to say Hershey sneaks one in there. And, big surprise. Split.
No split, just Saturday.
Oh, just Saturday. Sorry. Well, I guess I'll go Lehigh Valley then.
All right, just Saturday. Rochester against Syracuse. I say Rochester should have won on Monday. Syracuse still can't find a full 60-minute effort. I don't trust the Amerks are actually this good, but I definitely don't trust Monty. Amerks in an ugly game.
Okay. I'm going to be the contrarian and say Syracuse takes that one.
All right, and Sunday, we have Binghamton Devils at Hershey Bears. I think the Devils look competitive and almost passable in transition, but Hershey ekes out a win in OT after a boring low-event game, a 2-1, 3-2 kind of game. CC.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to say Hershey continues to Bingo's just going to continue their skid. I'm going to say Hershey takes that one.
And we did it!
Hey! All right.
Wow.
Yes. Wow, that was...
So we have picked every game this weekend.
That speed round was intense. My goodness.
Yeah.
That was impressive. I kind of like that. That was fun.
Oh, yeah. I think that's going to stick around. That was fun. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for the show. If you guys are enjoying the show, please make sure you subscribe so you get episodes in a timely fashion. Also, please rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening to it from, or if you're watching on YouTube, like the video and comment what you thought of this episode. Doing so helps others find the show, and your reviews help us improve it. You can also follow the show on social media at Calder Farmstead on Twitter, at the Calder Farmstead on Instagram and Facebook. Links to all of that and more can be found in our little scrolling bar down at the bottom here. But if you're on an audio version, it's linktr.ee/the Calder Farmstead.
And my name is CC Hockley. Calder Farmstead is part of the Full Press Radio Network. You can find our program, other hockey programs like Front Range Hockey, the other podcast I'm on with Scott McDonald, and a number of NHL podcasts and many more sports podcasts, sports entertainment, got some wrestling podcasts as well. You can find all that at fullpresscoverage.com. So go and check that out. As for me, Full Press Hockey, you can find me covering that on Twitter at FPC_AHL. That stands for Full Press Coverage _ American Hockey League. Imagine that. And you can find me on my personal Twitter account at CCHawk. That's SEESEEHAWK. Music, pro wrestling, memes, but mainly hockey. That's some of my tweets, most of my tweets, all of my tweets. So go check that out if you want to give me a follow. And you can also check out my writing. I've got a piece coming up previewing the Henderson and Colorado series. I'll be dropping that on Friday morning before the series. And you can check out my work at www.fullpresshockey.com. And yeah, there's that. Sean.
I'm Sean O'Brien. You can find me on Twitter at Sean O'Brien81. That's SeanObrien 81. I'm also on Instagram at Sean O'Brien _81. Those are both personal accounts. So it's not only hockey, but mostly hockey. But there's also pop culture takes or my thoughts on things that I just kind of shoot out into the void. I'm trying to be a better follow on Instagram. So maybe follow me on there or don't. I don't know your life. If you're interested in some of the point shares stuff and the stats work that we talk about, like PDO, that's on my Tableau page. You can find that at bit.ly/data dump and chase, all lowercase, all one word. It's also at the bottom of our link tree. Big thanks to Adrian Drake, who made our theme music. You can find him on social media at AD_dysfunction. That's DYSFUNCTION. So he can make music for you too. Cece, take us home.
All right, episode number 17 is in the books, and we thank you all once again for listening. And for Sean O'Brien, once again, well, final time for this episode, I'm Cece Hockley, and as always, keep your stick on the ice.